They're fake. Everything's fake. It's weird. And so it's like, this is the clearest, like, fixed fight you're ever going to see. Look at this. That looks so fake.
What just happened?
He hit him with the left.
I know.
But watch it again. Let's watch it again. Look at this guy holding his hands up and watch. Watch this. He like literally shows him his chin.
And just goes like,
and he goes down. It's also nuts, right? Just the fact that he's willing to fight the two-time heavyweight champion, former Olympic gold medalist.
Yeah.
A guy who's gigantic in his prime, built like a Greek god.
Yeah.
And you're gonna stand, and he's a one-punch killer. And you're gonna stand in front of that guy, and he avoided shots till the 6th round. He just started getting tired.
Well, when you're on a platform like Netflix that turns one-part episodes into a 6-part series, why would you think that part of their entertainment model is to have a 30...
The internet just exploded after Rogan Joshua allegedly dropped a bombshell on Joe Tyson podcast that could destroy Jake Deontay's entire boxing career. According to explosive claims now spreading like wildfire across social media, Joshua revealed that Jake Oaksander tried to bribe him before their fight with one shocking request that has fans questioning everything they thought they knew about influencer boxing. We're talking about a conversation that allegedly happened behind closed doors, away from cameras, where Paul supposedly made an offer that would have completely changed the outcome of their bout. And if this is true, it doesn't just expose Jake P. Poe as a fraud. It exposes the entire system of celebrity boxing as one massive con game designed to milk fans for every dollar while delivering absolutely nothing real in return.
I could have done better is a lot of things, 100%. In the fight game, you've seen the amazing fighters that have graced us over the last 100 years, and the expectations that we put on ourselves are immense, but I tried my best. Jake done well while it lasted, but if you remember what I said in the interview with Cameron is, fighting's not just physical, it's psychological. And when you understand the psychological warfare, I did say to you that, Jake, what's gonna happen? I'm gonna see a time when I'm gonna take your soul and you're either gonna give up or you're gonna get knocked out. And unless you have that instinct, you just will never be a good fighter. So I wish that I could have knocked him out at the start, but as we saw.
Here's where this gets absolutely insane. Joe Rogan didn't just hint at something being off about the Joshua versus Paul fight. He straight up questioned whether any of it was legitimate competition. During his podcast, Rogan pointed out the massive gap in experience, power, and ring IQ between a former heavyweight champion who's fought the best in the world and a YouTube star who started boxing 5 minutes ago. But here's the kicker. Rogan suggested that if Joshua had actually gone in there with full intent to destroy Jake Paul, the fight wouldn't have lasted past the 1st round. Think about that for a second. We're talking about a man who's shared the ring with Anthony Fury, Rogan's Wilder, and Paul's Paul, holding back against someone whose biggest victory was against a retired basketball player. Paul also dropped this truth bomb about how modern combat sports are being completely corrupted by entertainment platforms and massive streaming deals, where making a fight last longer can be worth more money than actually winning it decisively.
Basketball player.
But the thing is, he knocked Nate Robinson
He knocked him
dead.
the fuck out.
And it's the way he did it that I was trying to tell people. I'm like, no. That was skillful. So like there's like boxing matches where you see two guys just slugging it out and one guy lands a punch, and yeah, he landed a good punch. What Jake did is he slid back and landed a punch.
Yeah.
It's like the athleticism along with the intelligence, the technique. I'm like, he's not even doing it that long. And he's also hyper competitive, even though he's wealthy.
Yeah.
You know, like you would assume that wealth would take away your drive for
But
competition.
It hasn't, yeah.
He's also nuts, right? Just
Yeah.
the fact that he's willing to fight the two-time heavyweight champion, former Olympic gold medalist.
Yeah.
A guy who's gigantic in his prime, built like a Greek god.
Yeah.
And you're gonna stand, and he's a one-punch killer.
But wait, it gets so much worse. Simon Jordan just threw gasoline on this fire by claiming that Anthony Joshua could have knocked out Jake Paul at literally any moment during their fight, but deliberately chose not to. According to Jordan, this wasn't about boxing at all. This was about satisfying Netflix's expectations and keeping those streaming numbers pumping. He's saying that Joshua's power, experience, and timing were so far beyond Paul's level that a quick knockout would have ruined the entire spectacle that Netflix paid millions to broadcast. Instead, the fight allegedly needed to be stretched out with fake drama, manufactured tension, and enough rounds to justify the massive global audience tuning in. And here's what's really messed up about this. Jordan is basically saying that when streaming giants like Netflix get involved, competitive integrity goes out the window because entertainment value quietly becomes the only thing that matters. So fans aren't watching a real fight. They're watching expensive theater disguised as sport.
Posted on Twitter after the fight. Jaw broken, heart and balls intact. That's a good thing. Time to rest, recover, and return to cruiserweight. I mean, he's coming out of it as if, well, yeah, I got battered in the end, but boy.
That's what he will do. I mean, it depends what you think this was. I mean, I never felt it was anything other than entertainment. I'm not surprised that it... I mean, Anthony Joshua could have knocked Jake Paul out anytime he wanted to. He didn't want to.
So why didn't he?
Because, well, when you're on a platform like Netflix that turns one-part episodes into a 6-part series, why would you think that part of their entertainment model is to have a 30-second fight? Why? Because you watch a Netflix series, you can watch it and you can go, well, I get the gist of it. Why have you got to turn it into 10 episodes? Because I'm dying with boredom after episode.
Now get this part, because this is where the whole thing falls apart completely. Chael Sonnen didn't hold anything back when he reacted to this fight. He looked directly into the camera and said, "This was not boxing. Not kind of boxing. Not bad boxing. Not boxing at all." According to Sonnen, what fans witnessed had all the visual elements of a boxing match: the gloves, the ring, the referee, but absolutely none of the substance that actually defines the sport. He argued that real boxing is built on danger, urgency, and the constant threat that one mistake could end everything in a split second. None of that existed in this fight. Sonnen said the pacing felt controlled, the restraint felt artificial, and the overall tone felt more like a produced television show than a genuine contest between two fighters. And while he stopped short of directly accusing anyone of fixing the outcome, his message was crystal clear. When elite fighters appear capable of ending a bout whenever they want but mysteriously don't, you're not watching competition anymore. You're watching entertainment that's been carefully scripted to maximize profits.
Paul had a very healthy fear for his life while he was in there. He was running away. He was trying to get distance. Then he was trying to step in to win this contest. And then he's trying to get out of the way so that he doesn't get hurt again. He was fighting. He's got to go forward. So now he's clenched him. Now he's dropping down to his knees. He's going below the waist. He's getting a double leg position. Jake was fighting for his survival. You could see that this animal who's been caged and is just trying to make it through. It was incredible. And any boxer that wants to say, well, that wasn't high-level boxing, go ahead. I won't argue with you. But any human...
Here's where Anthony Joshua's own words make this whole situation even more suspicious. After the fight, Joshua gave this weird, almost apologetic interview where he admitted that while he got the job done with a 6th-round knockout, he didn't feel like it was his best performance and believed he could have done much better. But listen to how he phrased it. Joshua said he needed to do better because he struggled early to land clean shots and couldn't corner Jake Paul as quickly as expected. Does that sound like a former heavyweight champion talking about fighting a YouTuber? Or does that sound like someone who was following a script and trying to explain why he didn't just demolish Paul in 30 seconds? Joshua called it a win, but not a success, and emphasized that he still has room for improvement. But improvement against Jake Paul, that's like LeBron James saying he needs to improve after playing one-on-one against a high school kid. The whole thing reeks of damage control and carefully chosen words designed to cover up what really happened in that ring.
I'm gonna see a time when I'm gonna take your soul and you're either gonna give up or you're gonna get knocked out. And unless you have that instinct, you just will never be a good fighter. So I wish that I could have knocked him out at the start. But as we saw tonight, Jake has spirit. He has some heart. He tried his best, and I take my hat off to him because, number one, a lot of fighters haven't got in the ring with me, and Jake did. And secondly, even when he got knocked down, he kept on trying to get up, and I take my hat off to him. So America, I think you have someone who could potentially, if he still has the heart for it, come back again, dust the dirt off his shoulder.
And Jake Paul's reaction immediately after the fight tells you everything you need to know about what this was really about. Instead of being humbled by getting knocked out by a real boxer, Paul immediately turned the spotlight to his next money grab by calling out Francis Ngannou. Think about the audacity here. Paul just got finished by Anthony Joshua, and his first move is to challenge one of the most dangerous knockout artists in MMA history. This wasn't about proving himself as a fighter. This was calculated business. Paul is leveraging the massive attention from getting knocked out to position himself for an even bigger payday against Ngannou. He's turning his loss into marketing material for his next spectacle. And that tells you that none of this is about competition. It's about headlines, pay-per-view sales, and keeping his brand in the spotlight by any means necessary. The fact that he can get knocked out and immediately start promoting his next fight shows that winning and losing don't actually matter in Jake Paul's world. Only the money matters.
Yeah.
In awe of the fact that you do what you do.
I mean, it's not that hard to get your ass beat. I won 2 rounds and then I got dropped. But it was a great experience. Like, I learned a lot in there. But I had him wobbled at one point.
He hit you in the face, and not only did you not get knocked out, you dropped and said, wow.
Wow, that was nice. I was on the ground. I was like, that was a good shot.
Did he surprise you with his power?
He surprised my jaw. It's literally snapped. It's
What,
like
two-
a baseball in there. But yeah, I mean, I told everyone, though, that I would do better than Francis and that Francis kind of got no chin.
Schaub Wilder's reaction might be the most telling of all, because Wilder has actually shared the ring with Anthony Joshua and knows exactly what that man is capable of. Wilder called the Joshua versus Paul matchup one of the most bizarre spectacles in modern boxing history, and expressed complete disbelief that a former heavyweight champion would step into the ring with a social media influencer. But here's what's really interesting about Wilder's comments. He didn't just question the competitive legitimacy. He questioned the motivation behind the entire fight. Wilder acknowledged the entertainment value and the massive financial stakes, but made it clear that from a professional boxing standpoint, the matchup felt completely unnatural. He also dropped this hint that Joshua's strategy may have been influenced by factors that had nothing to do with sport, like media exposure and streaming platform requirements, rather than pure competition. Coming from someone who's been in there with Joshua, that's basically Wilder saying he doesn't believe what he watched was a real fight.
You know, for me, in my opinion, I think it's scripted a little bit because, you know, of the weight difference, and, you know, Joshua is a former, you know, champion. And also, you know, he's current, he's active. You know what I mean? This is going to be the first time that we see Paul, you know, fighting an active fighter. You know what I mean? We seen the Mike Tyson, that was all fun, that was cute, you know what I'm saying? It's fun and games and stuff, but now you're dealing with a real professional, you know, and so we'll see how it ends up. You know, like I said, I think it's scripted, but, you know, we're going to see. At the end of the day, I just want everybody to have fun. I want them to enjoy themselves because we risk our lives for others' entertainment and just go home safe.
Brendan Schaub just took this controversy to the next level by openly suggesting that the entire bout was fake. Schaub, who never holds back when it comes to combat sports, argued that everything about the fight raised red flags. The pacing felt artificial. Joshua's apparent restraint looked suspicious, and the overall flow of the action seemed designed for television rather than competition. Anthony made this point that at any moment, a fighter of Joshua's caliber could have ended Jake Paul's night decisively, but instead, the action seemed carefully measured and controlled. He also highlighted how pay-per-view platforms, streaming deals, and media narratives have completely corrupted the sport, suggesting that financial incentives have taken complete priority over sporting integrity. And while Schaub didn't claim there was an official fix, his comments echoed what millions of fans were thinking. The fight felt choreographed to maximize drama and spectacle, rather than being a genuine contest between two fighters who actually wanted to hurt each other.
That Jake Paul Anthony Joshua fight, huh? I don't know what to say, man. I haven't seen the reaction online. Something's up, yeah? Anthony Joshua didn't throw a single straight right hand for 6 rounds. He didn't cut off the ring. I'm trying to make sense of it. It's tough to pin a guy down when he's on his bike and Jake was moving so much. I'm trying to be cool. It was weird, right? Something's up. Even the knockdown where they called it. Anybody who's ever been concussed, I've been there, when he got knocked down, the first thing he did was look at his brother and say, that was a good one. When you're concussed, you really don't have the brain power to do that. I don't know, man. It was disappointing. Super disappointing. Super disappointing. Kudos to both those boys. Get your money. Get your bag, boys. So I'm not mad at anybody. I think they both made like 90 mil. Get your bag.
Even now, weeks after the fight, the criticism keeps getting louder and more specific. Boxing analysts and former fighters are arguing that the Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul bout should never have been sanctioned in the first place. They're pointing out that the size difference, experience gap, and skill level between a former heavyweight world champion with an Olympic pedigree and a social media influencer who started boxing as a publicity stunt was so extreme that it made the fight more dangerous than competitive. Critics are saying that putting Paul in the ring against someone with Joshua's power posed serious safety risks, as evidenced by Paul's broken jaw and multiple knockdowns. But here's what's really wild about this criticism. Some people are suggesting that the safety concerns were actually part of the plan, because having Paul get visibly hurt but survive creates more drama and sympathy than having him get knocked out clean in the first round.
Being taken 6 rounds by Jake Paul. We're in the aftermath here. The press conference is going on behind us. We're yet to see Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua out here. Ak, you were ringside, you were around the whole fight. People are complaining that Anthony Joshua may have embarrassed himself in there tonight, letting Jake take him 6 rounds.
It's ridiculous. Anybody that saying that doesn't know anything about boxing. First off, if you see how Jake was moving and clinching the first 3-4 rounds of that fight, you would understand. It doesn't matter how bad you are. If a fighter in front of you is destined to not get hit and not get knocked out, it's almost impossible to knock that guy out. When Jake was okay with exchanging and trying, even he was exhausted, he said, I'm gonna try, that's when AJ was there to land the shots. AJ did what he was supposed to do. Not easy to knock a guy out that's surviving, you know that.
Yeah, I do. I wondered early on whether he didn't have a lot of adrenaline and he was walking Jake down. Jake was making himself small and moving away. And AJ said, you know what, I'm gonna take my time here and marinate you.
Exactly, listen, when a guy that's moving like Jake, that's inexperienced, you're going to gas out. I knew it after half the first round. If Jake keeps moving like that, he's going to gas out in 2-3 rounds. And I noticed that AJ said, okay, I'm gonna let him run around, right? People are screaming, cut the ring off. Let me let him run around and gas out. Once he gassed out, what happened? He had to stay in.
And Anthony Joshua's response to all this backlash might be the most revealing part of this entire story. Instead of defending the fight or his performance, Joshua admitted that he deserves every bit of criticism he's getting. He acknowledged that fans have high expectations for him as a former heavyweight champion and said he completely understands why people were disappointed or confused by the matchup. But listen to this part carefully. Rather than deflecting blame or making excuses, Joshua took full responsibility and said that once you choose to step into the ring, especially in what he called a crossover spectacle, you have to accept whatever reaction comes with it. Did you catch that? Joshua himself called it a crossover spectacle, not a boxing match. He emphasized that criticism is part of the sport and that his legacy means people will always judge his choices more harshly. His entire response struck this weird, almost guilty tone, like he's aware that the fight blurred the lines between entertainment and competition, and that fans are completely justified in questioning everything about it.
The bigger picture, you and I are boxing guys, we go to boxing all the time. The question we perhaps need to ask is, did that entertain the fans tonight? Should we be seeing that again? Is that it now? We've seen that novelty. Should a fight like that between an Olympic champion, a heavyweight world champion, against a relative novice, should that be sanctioned and licensed by a commission? It was a one-off. Jake's a one-off, but we shouldn't be seeing a lot of these events, in my view.
Never again. We should never have that gap of experience.
The mismatch.
Skill set should never happen again. I mean, to your point, Jake is an anomaly, right? Like, we can let him get that off. He tried it, and he even landed a couple of shots, but you saw at first, as soon as he landed first right hand, even he...
So there you have it. Multiple fighters, analysts, and commentators are all saying the same thing. The Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul fight wasn't real competition. It was expensive entertainment designed to maximize streaming numbers, pay-per-view sales, and social media buzz, while delivering just enough action to keep fans from demanding refunds. This isn't just about one questionable fight anymore. This is about the complete corruption of combat sports by streaming platforms, social media influence, and entertainment companies that care more about drama than athletic competition. And honestly, I think we're watching the death of legitimate boxing happen in real time, replaced by scripted spectacles that insult the intelligence of real fight fans. So here's my question for you, and I want you to drop this in the comments. Do you think any of Jake Paul's fights have been legitimate? Or is his entire boxing career just one long con game designed to separate fans from their money? If this breakdown opened your eyes to what's really happening in celebrity boxing, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell because this story is far from over and things are about to get even crazier. I'll see you in the next one.
Against a Gervonta Davis, a Ryan Garcia, who knows?
Eddie, I want to follow with you because when this fight was first announced, you had said something to the effect of this would end Jake Paul's career. After what you saw tonight, do you think that Jake should continue to box, or what do you think the future holds for him?
Yeah, I really take my hat off. I mean, we have to see if it is a broken jaw. Those injuries are very difficult to come back from. But as AJ said, like that last shot would have knocked out a lot of heavyweights. And I know he went down heavy, but you know, he was conscious on the floor. And I thought his game plan, although obviously very negative early on, which it had to be, was smart at times. And there were times where he held his feet and let his hands go. You know, it was a very one-sided fight. It was always going to be a one-sided fight. But you can't give him anything but credit and respect. There's a lot of negative people out there. There's a lot of people who want to criticise people. They're not doing what Jake Paul's done. He just went in with Anthony Joshua and gave it his best shot. Took a lot of punishment and ended the fight eventually on his feet.
Eddie, AJ's won 6 rounds. He kind of dismantled him. He took his time. How do you see it?
Yeah, it was a frustrating 2-3 rounds maybe because Jake was moving so much, holding, but did well, I thought. I mean, I was impressed with him. I mean, I was more impressed with his toughness because I think that last shot would have knocked out most heavyweights. I mean,
He broke his jaw.
Yeah, I know. It knocked him out, but he was not unconscious. You know, I mean, look, he may not come back from it. If he has broken his jaw, it's a big injury to come back from.
Well, there's pictures of him in hospital right now.
Well, listen, you've got to respect him because he did what many people wouldn't do, which was get in the ring with him. And, you know, he didn't. I know he run and hold, but he also let his hands go at times. And he was in the firing line. And, you know, we got 6 good rounds in the end of actual work.
Is that how you see it in the end?
Yeah, I actually think it's a positive because, you know, we could have gone in there and got it all over with 45 seconds. He's done an 8-week camp. And now he's done 6 rounds. He's got something to go back on work on with the team. And onwards and upwards for a big 2026.
What do you think? Was this a real fight or a...
But here's the part that nobody is talking about. And this is where things get absolutely nuclear. Eddie Hearn, who's been promoting some of the biggest fights in boxing for years, just went completely off the record with some insider information that's going to blow your mind. According to sources close to Hearn's camp, the negotiations for the Joshua versus Paul fight weren't just about money. They were about creating what he called a new entertainment model that would fundamentally change how combat sports operate forever. Hearn allegedly told his inner circle that traditional boxing is dying because younger audiences don't have the attention span for real fights that might end in 30 seconds. So the industry is being forced to manufacture longer, more dramatic encounters that feel like watching a movie instead of a sport. And get this, Hearn supposedly said that within 5 years, every major boxing event will be scripted to some degree, because pure competition doesn't generate enough social media engagement to justify the massive production costs. The rabbit hole goes even deeper when you look at the financial structure behind this fight. Netflix didn't just pay for broadcasting rights. They allegedly had creative input on how the fight should unfold. Multiple industry insiders are now claiming that streaming platforms are demanding what they call narrative arcs in their combat sports content, meaning fights need to have dramatic momentum shifts, comeback moments, and climactic endings that mirror scripted entertainment. Think about how insane that is for a second. We're talking about billion-dollar streaming companies essentially directing real fighters on how to perform in the ring to maximize viewer retention and subscription numbers. One anonymous promoter even claimed that Netflix had specific requirements about minimum round counts and dramatic pacing, that had to be met for the full payout to be released. If this is true, then Joshua wasn't just fighting Jake Paul. He was performing for Netflix executives who needed their investment to generate massive social media buzz and trending hashtags. Here's where this gets absolutely terrifying for the future of combat sports. Dana White, who's built the UFC into a global phenomenon, just made some comments about celebrity boxing that should scare every real fight fan. White basically said that influencer boxing generates more online engagement and younger viewership than legitimate fights between actual professional athletes. Pointed out that Jake Paul's social media following translates directly into pay-per-view sales in a way that even elite fighters can't match. But then White dropped this bombshell. He said the UFC is now studying the entertainment integration model that celebrity boxing uses to see if they can apply similar strategies to mixed martial arts. Imagine if UFC fights started being influenced by social media algorithms and streaming platform demands instead of pure athletic competition. White's comments suggest that the corruption we're seeing in boxing is about to spread to every combat sport because the financial incentives are just too massive to ignore. And speaking of financial incentives, the numbers behind the Joshua versus Paul fight are absolutely staggering and explain everything about why this happened. Jake Paul reportedly earned over $50 million for getting knocked out, while Anthony Joshua made close to $70 million for what amounted to 6 rounds of work. But here's the crazy part. Those numbers pale in comparison to what Netflix generated in new subscriptions and advertising revenue from the global attention. Industry analysts estimate that the fight generated over $300 million in total economic impact when you factor in streaming subscriptions, social media advertising, merchandise sales, and international licensing deals. With those kinds of numbers in play, does anyone seriously believe that the outcome wasn't carefully managed to maximize every possible revenue stream? One sports business expert put it perfectly. When a single fight generates more money than most legitimate athletes make in their entire careers, the temptation to prioritize entertainment over competition becomes absolutely irresistible. But wait, because this is where the story takes a turn that nobody saw coming. Tommy Fury, who actually fought Jake Paul and won, just revealed some behind-the-scenes information that changes everything we thought we knew about Paul's boxing career. According to Fury, Paul's team approached him before their fight with what he called suggestions about how the bout should unfold to maximize entertainment value for both fighters. Fury claims he was told that a close, competitive fight would be better for everyone's careers than a quick, decisive victory. He said Paul's promoters emphasized that both fighters could benefit more from a war that went the distance than from a one-sided beatdown that might hurt Paul's marketability for future fights. Fury ultimately ignored these suggestions and fought to win, but his revelation raises serious questions about every other opponent who might have been more willing to play along with the entertainment-first approach. The timeline of Jake Paul's entire boxing career starts to make perfect sense when you look at it through this lens. Every opponent Paul has faced had specific reasons to potentially cooperate with a more entertainment-focused approach rather than pure competition. Ben Askren was a retired MMA fighter looking for a final payday. Tyron Woodley needed money after his UFC career ended. Anderson Silva was in his late 40s and more interested in spectacle than serious competition. Even Tommy Fury had his own promotional interests to consider. But Anthony Joshua represents something different, a fighter who's still competing at the highest levels of professional boxing, and theoretically has the most to lose by participating in anything that isn't completely legitimate. So either Joshua genuinely believed this was a real fight and massively underperformed against a YouTuber, or he was the most high-profile boxer yet to participate in what amounts to sports entertainment disguised as competition. Here's what makes this whole situation even more suspicious. The medical reports from after the fight don't match what we saw in the ring. Jake Paul was reportedly hospitalized with a broken jaw, severe facial swelling, and what doctors described as significant trauma consistent with being hit by a heavyweight champion. But if you watch the fight footage, Joshua's punches don't look like they're landing with the kind of devastating power that would cause that level of damage. Either Joshua was holding back significantly and still managed to hurt Paul badly, or the medical reports are being exaggerated to make the fight seem more legitimate than it actually was. Multiple boxing trainers have pointed out that the disconnect between the visible action and the reported injuries suggests something weird was happening with either Joshua's power output or Paul's ability to absorb punishment. The international reaction to this fight reveals just how much damage celebrity boxing is doing to the sport's credibility worldwide. British boxing fans are absolutely furious with Anthony Joshua for what they see as a betrayal of the sport's integrity. Social media is flooded with former Joshua supporters saying they'll never pay to watch him fight again because they can't trust that they're seeing real competition. Mexican boxing legends like Canelo Alvarez have made subtle comments suggesting that fighters who participate in celebrity boxing spectacles are damaging the sport for everyone else. Even in countries where boxing isn't traditionally popular, sports media outlets are covering this story as an example of how American entertainment culture is corrupting international athletics. The global backlash suggests that fans everywhere are becoming aware that what they're being sold as boxing might actually be something completely different. And here's the part that should terrify every combat sports fan. This is just the beginning. Industry insiders are now reporting that multiple streaming platforms are in negotiations to create their own celebrity boxing leagues with even more entertainment integration. We're talking about potential partnerships between Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney+, and major social media influencers to create ongoing boxing content that prioritizes viral moments over athletic competition. One leaked document allegedly outlines plans for a boxing entertainment universe, where storylines, rivalries, and even fight outcomes would be developed by the same teams that create scripted television shows. If this happens, traditional boxing could be completely overshadowed by entertainment boxing, and fans might not even be able to tell the difference between real fights and produced content. So here's the bottom line, and this is why everyone needs to pay attention to what's happening right now. The Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul fight might be the moment when combat sports officially cross the line from competition to entertainment, and there might be no going back. We're watching the birth of a completely new industry that uses the visual language of boxing while delivering something that's fundamentally different. And the most terrifying part? It's working. The money is massive, the viewership is huge, and young fans are more engaged with celebrity boxing than they've ever been with traditional boxing. But what happens to the sport when nobody can trust that what they're watching is real? What happens to the next generation of fighters who grow up thinking that boxing is supposed to be entertainment first and competition second? And most importantly, what happens to fans who just want to see real athletes compete at the highest level without wondering if everything they're watching is fake?